Hi guys, welcome to the second video on Celtic pattern work. In this video we're going to look at how you can use tone and colour to create the illusion of form in your drawing. By the end of the video I hope you should have some idea of how you can make your drawing look like it has some solid elements. Because we're using colour, we're going to revisit some of what we learnt in the first unit. We're going to look again at the colour wheel and specifically at the relationship between primary and secondary colours. If you can remember, there are three primary colours on the colour wheel. Primary colours are those that cannot be mixed or created by the mixture of any other colours. The three primary colours are red, yellow and blue. Opposite the primary colours we have secondary colours. Opposite red we have green. Green is a secondary colour created by the mixture of the primary colours yellow and blue. Green is also complementary to red. Opposite yellow we have purple. Purple is a secondary colour. It is created by the mixture of the other two primary colours and it is also complementary to yellow. Opposite blue we have orange. Orange is created by the mixture of the two primary colours yellow and red. Orange is complementary to blue. Now if you're colourblind or don't have access to pencil crayons, you can shade your study neatly in pencil and create a similar effect for this task. But for the purpose of completing this task in colour, I have chosen the complementary colour system of blue and orange, simply because we have at least 3 different shades of blue here and up to 5 different shades of orange if we're going to include yellow and red as the lightest and darkest shade. Now you're going to need pencil crayons in the colour system that you have chosen. I have been able to find 5 pencil crayons, 6 pencil crayons that cover the different shades of yellows, reds and oranges. I've managed to find 6 pencil crayons for blues too. It might be that I don't need them all. Okay. In addition to your pencil crayons, you're going to need to have the drawing that you created for the last task. There's mine. I think it's important to say that between the last video and this one I have tweaked this study a little bit. Drawing for a video is slightly different to drawing flat on the table, and when I reviewed it it was slightly out of perspective, so I've just tweaked it a little bit to address that. But I'm going to start with the colouring using the darkest blue pencil crayon that I have. Okay, so that's purple. And I'm going to put the darkest blue pencil crayon underneath the bridges that we had. If you remember, in the last video we called them roads and bridges. So underneath the bridge we would have some shadow. Okay, I'm not pressing on too hard just yet, but I'm putting that tone down on that side and then on this side of that bridge. Now if you notice, I'm going up a little bit more at the sides, almost like a curve shape there and a curve shape there. I'm doing that to create the illusion of form on my actual study. I'm going to make it look like it's a tube, or certainly like it's round, like rounded. Okay, so again we are underneath one of the bridges, and I am putting that tone in that sort of circular way. Again on this side. I think some of my pavements, some of the little borders I put on are slightly inconsistent, so I'll probably address those as I'm going along and colouring in. Okay, and there's the third one. Again, I'm coming round just take your time to look at the whole thing. I've created 3 lots of shadows underneath 3 lots of bridges. Okay, so as well as adding the darkest shade of blue, I'm going to add the darkest shade of orange, this one, and I'm going to make that on the inside of the shape. So we have the background is going to be orange, very much like in this example here. The background is going to be orange, and the shape we'll call the foreground is going to be blue. You can choose whichever way you want to for your sketch, as long as you're using complementary colours. I kind of think the blue and the orange and the green and the red are slightly easier than the purple and the yellow, simply because you really don't have that many shades of yellow to play with. But we can get quite a few shades of green, quite a few shades of blue too. And as we saw in the colour wheel, you could have up to 5 shades of orange if you're going to go with yellow and red. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole of that. I think you're going to get the idea of that. I'll put it on time lapse in a bit so you can see the whole thing working. But once you put your darker shade down, you're going to look for the next shade in your pencil crayons, and we're going to work out. Now, I kind of see it a little bit like a relay. If you're doing a relay in the sports day, you have to have the baton, so you hand over that baton, and in like a relay we have a crossover of colours, and I put my next colour on top of the darkest colour as well to blend those shades in, but it probably carries a little bit further. I'm not going to put it completely over the bridge bit here. I want to leave that white for the minute, but I can pick it up and make it slightly darker, a bit more pressure as I'm coming away from the actual raised bit. So again, here we've got that overlap, we've got that baton going in, and the more colours you put down, the more intensity you can create within your colours by pressing on harder to create this waxy bloom effect. You don't have to spend a fortune on pencil crayons. but it's nice to get a set with soft leads, or softish leads. I think some of the Staedtler pencil crayons have got a little bit hard over the past few years as they try to make them a little bit unbreakable. They make them a little bit hard to blend, and I know that you know that I would have said already that Crayolas probably offer the best value for money in terms of a decent set of basic pencil crayons. Please don't feel you have to spend a lot of money on getting pencil crayons. I think I picked these ones up in TK Maxx and they're about £4 for 20. That's why I've got quite a few different shades of colours. Okay, so we can see we've got this transition coming. Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I will do the whole thing on time lapse for you. But I've put my second shade of blue in. I'm going to put the second shade of orange in. Not pressing on. Don't want to create a wax barrier with the colour that I can't work on top of in a bit. So the next shade of orange is this one. Again, I come back over the red that I've already used, so I'm not making a red, it becomes a very, very dark orange. Press on a little bit harder now with the orange. As I'm moving away from the edge, I take off the pressure a little bit. You can start to see it's starting to get a little bit of depth, a little bit of form there already. Again, constantly review and evaluate your lines. Are you happy with them? This is where the pavements we put in the last drawing, in the last video, are really quite handy. They act as a really nice frame for our study. Becomes very, very effective. Okay, so again, I'm not going to spend too much time doing the whole thing. I'm just going to give you some idea of what we're doing. You will see the whole thing evolve on time lapse. Okay, so the next thing is a lighter shade of blue. I think this one is lighter. And again, I'm going to go back to where I started. I'm going to rework on top. You can start to see the intensity is getting a little bit greater the more layers that we get going on. Mixing pencil crayons. Using a painting technique with pencil crayons. Okay, I'm going to go back a bit with the darker blue and just come in now into that edge there, a little bit further round, and start to see a definite form being created, tubular. So it's just on the edges, a bit of that dark blue. Again, not pressing on too hard because I want to blend it in to make it look like it's curvy and round. And again, I'm going to come with a slightly darker pencil crayon on top of that. I've left this bit here, I've left that bit there because it's almost like that's the highest bit of the actual sketch. So that bit there, I'm going to have the lightest shade of pencil crayon on there to create that illusion that it's really coming up and over something. I want my white edges to be as consistent as they can be, so I'm going to tweak some of them again with that darker pencil crayon. You can constantly review and evaluate your sketch as you are working in both of your colours. On both sides. A bit fat on that side there. Don't worry if you can still see some of the pencil. Okay, so I'm pressing on a little bit harder now with the orange to create some of the intensity of the colour, like I have done with the blue. I kind of think when the yellow comes on, it really comes alive. Just gets rid of that white paper that you can see coming through the actual drawing. It's a nice soft texture of the paper, using art paper rather than photocopy paper. If photocopy paper is all you've got, then by all means use it. You just won't necessarily get the texture that you can see on the cartridge paper. Now I'm following the shape of the design. Again, it's going to be a shadow, so we can follow it round. I work in a controlled scribble sort of way, so there's no specific direction, it goes all over. It's quite a nice way of working because things will knit together rather than have like stripes or sections that you can see. It's constantly moving, constantly adding more depth to this scratchy, knitted, controlled scribble. Okay. So the next colour I'm going to use is the yellow. This is one of my favourite bits. Again, very much like what we've got going on here. This is the most exposed area of the background bit, so we can go quite light in that middle bit. I'm going to revisit this edge here. With the red, just press on a little bit harder to define it. You can start to see it coming out. Constantly looking at the actual study, take it all in. Okay, so the lighter shade of blue now. If your lighter shade of blue isn't particularly light, you can create the illusion of it being lighter by either adding white on top if you have a white in your pencil crayon set, or making the darker shades of blue darker, pressing on a little bit harder. I think I might use some white on here. I do have a white there, but I'm also going to use the blue here. Again, and press on a little bit harder with that. Start to see it coming together though. I really like how the colours are offset by the white frame, so it was a little bit tricky to put into the actual design at the beginning, but it's well worth it if we've managed it, I think. Okay, hopefully you found this useful, and hopefully it will be able to help you in the development of your own piece of work in colour. I think the important thing is that you enjoy yourself and have a little bit of fun. Okie dokie. Thanks very much. Bye bye.